Hi everyone, it's Brittany from the Newnan Carnegie Library, and today at Crafting at the Carnegie, we are going to be making rustic book stacks. These are such fun decor items. They're great to reuse old items that we don't want anymore, although it's hard to believe we'd ever want to part with any books. But you know, sometimes we buy those books that we thought were going to be great and they just weren't our favorites, or sometimes we find some really inexpensive ones and we pick them up and they're great for this project because you can customize your saying, but you can also customize the top. So to get started, you're going to take a book. It doesn't matter, but you are going to need a hardcover book. It can be any color. As you can see, I have a black one here, so it doesn't matter. And then you're going to take some chalk paint. Chalk paint is available at major department stores, craft stores, and online. And then you're going to need a paintbrush. I'm using a foam brush today. It just gives me really good, easy coverage, but any kind of paintbrush would do. And then I've got some, you can't see it, but I've got something to cover my work surface with. So I'm just gonna get a big glob of paint. And the greatest thing about this is you don't have to paint it perfectly, you just kind of glob it on there. So I'm gonna start, because there's some indentions in my book right here, I wanna try to fill that in with the paint. And what I found is the easiest way to hold it is I just grab some of the pages in the middle here and hold it like this. So I'm just gonna dab, dab, dab to try to get some of those indentions filled in with the paint, and then I'll smooth it out with strokes so we don't have any lumps. With most books, chalk paint is so thick and has such great coverage. I've only had to do one coat, but sometimes you need two, and it dries pretty quickly, so you could still get this project done in an afternoon. Add a little bit more, just dabbing. And then spreading it out. And then with the rest of the book, I'll just paint this along. What I have found, there's some books that have ridges and little indentions throughout the whole thing. They're very porous. You will definitely have to do a couple coats on those, but you'll know pretty early on. And it's also how much you want the book to show through. So if the black or whatever the color of the book you're using matches your decor, you want a little bit of that to show through, then by all means do that. Again, what I always say about crafting, the greatest thing about crafting is you get to make it your own. It's to fit your style. That's one reason why we make things. Not only is it fun to do it and relaxing, but it really lets you customize it to your preferences. So you don't have to do it how I do it. You don't have to do it how some other folks have done it. I'll show you later some of the people who've done it in classes we've held here at the library. They all look great, and they were all done their own way. So I would just keep painting this book as I go, make sure I get my edges. I don't suggest painting the actual pages of your book. They're fine natural, especially even if they're weathered, they just add to the character of the book. But they get kind of sticky and it gets hard to hold, and I didn't see any great merit with it. So you just keep painting. Let it dry, and then your book would look something like this. So I have finished painting several books, as you can see here. They're all nicely covered, and depending on the colors, you can see a little bit peeking through. You can see right here, the pages all look really nice, even though I didn't paint them. This one especially has some great character to it. So the next step, you're gonna need some sandpaper. I have 220 fine grit sandpaper here, and this is where it really gets fun. This is probably my favorite part of the whole process. Let's start with this one. A really great character. You're just going to go and sand around to add some extra character, like you can see here. Really make it look old and weathered, not like you just painted it, right? So that's what we're gonna do here. Now you don't want to have to focus too much along the top or the bottom unless it's gonna be your top book, because no one's really gonna see that. You're really just gonna wanna focus on the spine here. So some places you'll do more than others. Making sure you don't sand off too much right here in the middle where you're gonna put your stamps. You want it to be nice and even. And even after you finish stamping your books, you can still go back and sand. It's just nice to get the initial part done, and I do actually recommend doing that because then you get some character added to your stamps. Blobs of paint, or maybe where it wasn't exactly even, just sand them away. Very easy to fix mistakes in this project, which I'm a fan of. Don't start over, just fix it. My philosophy. All right, y'all are going on through an earthquake, shaking so much. So I think that looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my other book, and then I will meet you back when it's time to stamp. Okay, so I finished distressing both of my books for now. Again, we may go back a little bit later, and now it's time to stamp. So you are gonna need some stamps and an ink pad, just a regular acid-free, this is a dye ink pad, will be fine. They come in loads of colors, so you pick whichever one you want. Same thing with stamps. Tons of fonts, tons of different characters. You just choose what you like. So I just put my book up on the pages when I'm ready. And then the first suggestion I have for you all is to stamp on a piece of paper first. So I'm just using my scrap paper that I used to paint my books on. So I'm just gonna get a really good stamp here and then press straight down. And that way I know for sure how my stamp is gonna look. Do I want to wobble it? Oh, if I wobble it too much, it's going to show this little bit of edge. But if I go straight down and press, it's going to give the look I want. So just get comfortable with your stamps. You're also going to want to decide what you want to say. So I'm going to start with the word read. So you can take your spine and kind of lay out your stamps. No, I'm not spelling read right now, but how you want them so you know that they fit in the space you want, because you don't want to get started and then have to start over. The good thing is if you start stamping, you're like, oh, that doesn't work, just paint over it. It's totally fine. Again, we don't have to start over here, we just fix it, all right? So just paint over, wait for it to dry, sand a little bit, and then start your stamping again. So, let's see. We have 4 letters in the word read. And I think I want it to start right about here. Just gonna hold my place with my finger, go straight down on my ink pad, and then go straight down on my book. And then lift up. And there's my R. And we need E, so same thing. So you can be able to see this. Straight down on my ink pad. Giving a little space so they're not touching. And then straight down on my book. And A. Straight down. Little space. Straight down on my book. And last but not least, my D. Straight down and up. Okay, so now you see it's finished my read. That's all done. So now I'm going to start with my next book. Now my next book will be my bottom book. So because of that, I know that I want my word to end right about here, so I'm actually going to stamp my book backwards. So my next word is repeat, so I'm going to start with the letter T. It's the last letter in repeat. Straight down. And this is where I want my book to end, or my word to end, excuse me. And so I'm going to straight down. And then I'll just keep spelling the word backwards so I know that it ends where I want it to. So that's just a little tip for this. Also, when you're finished using your stamps, the easiest way to clean them is with a baby wipe or a disinfectant wipe. It'll get that ink right off there, let them dry, and then they're ready to store and use again. Right, I'm going to finish my word repeat. Then I will see you back in a few minutes. We will finish our books, we'll get them stacked together, do a little more sanding, and then add the decor. Stamping my books, read and repeat. Great way to live, we do say. And now it's time for me, I just want to add a little character to my stamp. So they've completely dried. You want to make sure they're dry because you don't want any smearing. I'm just going to take another piece of the same 220 fine grit sandpaper and just sand those up. Just rough those up a little bit. Make them not quite as perfect. Add some little distressing to those letters. And how you want your books to sit. Now, you don't have to wrap your books. You don't have to have any decor. If you like the way these look right now, you are done. Stack them up, put them on a bookshelf, put them on a table, good to go. But if you do want to, now this is the time you can add some fun embellishments. So let's see. I think I like the way this looks, just like this. And then I just have some twine here. You can use the raffia like I've used here, ribbon, whatever makes you happy. I'm just going to try to tie these up, kind of how kids back in the day may tie up their school books to carry them. As you can see, I am all finished. I have added some more string. I did a little bit more distressing, and then added a few little bits of more decor. And that's really what I suggest you do. Tie it one way, tie it another, add some decor. Don't add a bow like we did here. Really play with it until it matches what you love. In a second, you'll see another slide. You can see some of the great work our patrons have done in a former class. You can really make it your own. I hope you'll give this a try. It's a great way to reuse old books and bring some new life and add to your decor.